Chargers. Touchdown, UCLA.
With USC great and NFL stud, Frosty Rucker.
The Trojans back in front.
And LAFB founder Ryan Dyrud on the Believe Podcast Network and LAFBnetwork.com. This is your destination for Los Angeles football.
What's going on, Los Angeles? Welcome in to another episode of the LA Football Podcast right here on the LA Football Network, LAFBnetwork.com, our city, our network, everything you need for Rams, Chargers, Trojans, Bruins, found right there. You can find this show in audio and video format there. Also on YouTube at LAFB Network. We are everywhere you listen to podcasts. Just search LA Football and you will find us. And of course, every Friday on the Mighty 1090 ESPN Radio. Mightier 1090 ESPN Radio, let me add. So hope everyone having a fantastic Friday. I'm your host, Ryan Dyrud. Those wondering, Jamal Madney, the Madman, joining me as my full-time co-host. We did the last few episodes together, had a blast. Really excited about the direction of the show with him joining me on, just to add another voice. Seriously, one of the smartest humans I've ever met in terms of actual just brain smarts. I mean, the dude's like an engineer, worked for Boeing, has multiple degrees, just got his doctorate, but also just in sports smarts and LA smarts. I mean, he is like a encyclopedia when it comes to sports knowledge. So he's going to add so much value to this show that I hope all of you are excited about as well. However, he is on his honeymoon. So I know we just kind of launched us together, but he's going to be away for a little bit on his honeymoon, which is very important. Obviously got pushed back like many people's weddings, honeymoons, travel plans because of COVID. So they were finally able to do that now. And then they're just enjoying off the grid. So you're stuck back with just little old me for a little while until he gets back, but he'll be back in a couple weeks with plenty of time before the season starts. Speaking of the season, we got OTAs next week for Rams and Chargers. So, you know, I feel like the offseason is never really, we basically have June is like the true dead part of the NFL season. Because every month after the Super Bowl, it's like you got, okay, Super Bowl's in February, and then you got free agency starts in March. So there's that craziness frenzy you lead up to. The draft is in April. May has rookie minicamp and OTAs. And then June is like, then there's nothing in June. So that will be our true kind of dead period to do some fun stuff that we have planned. We got some good event stuff we're doing. I will just say we have plans for Chargers fans out there, the Die Hard Bolt Club, super fast growing fan booster club. We are partnering up with them to, do some events. I'll announce more as full details, but in June, the plan is for us to do a co-op meet and greet with Chargers rookie Zion Johnson, do a little autograph session. We'll do a live show there. So we got some exciting stuff with that. We are also in the works with partnering with a Rams booster club for you Rams fans. So do some great events here in SoCal with the Rams. We are planning again for the Rams that should happen hopefully in July, but we want to do a kind of before the season starts, a final celebration for our Super Bowl champs. And we're going to do a pub crawl here in LA, probably most likely in the beach cities like El Segundo, Manhattan Beach, Hermosa, like that area is most likely what we're thinking. It's local, similar to at least to SoFi. But we'll see. We're kind of still working it out, but I think that's going to be a ton of fun. We've got some things planned for Bruins and Trojans fans. So like we said, the whole goal of the LA Football Network is not just content. It's community engagement and fan engagement and building a platform that you can get great content, whether it be audio, video, or article, but also then there's stuff to do. Because so many media platforms, it's not a knock on them, but it stops at when you read an article. Like that's it. You might get in some engagement on Twitter, but that's it. And I know like Spaces now is a big thing that some media people do, but we want to be in the community doing events and having fun. So that's just a little preview of what we got planned. More of that coming soon. Today's show brought to you by our friends at Bet Online. Head to betonline.ag today on your mobile or desktop. Either or, doesn't matter. Use the promo code BELIEVE for your first time deposit, and you get a 50% welcome bonus. Say it every time. I'll say it again. You put in $100, you get a free $50 to play with. Free money. Why wouldn't you do it? BetOnline.ag, promo code BELIEVE, 50% welcome bonus on your first time deposit. Head there today. You got NBA playoffs in the conference championships, NHL playoffs in the divisional round. My Avalanche suffered a tough loss to the St. Louis Blues last night. A lot of Rams fans are Blues fans. It kills me. I get it, obviously, being Rams were in St. Louis for 20 years. So a lot of still St. Louis people are also Rams fans, and obviously the Blues are there. So I get it, but it kills me this series. Usually, I got no qualms with the Blues. I love Ryan O'Reilly. Bennington's a solid goalie, so it's just, we're in the playoffs now. So now they're a hated team for this round till the Avs hopefully move on. Can finally get out of the second round. But anyway, betonline.ag, you can bet on that series. If you're Blues fans out there, Rams Blues fans, that could be a fun one to get on. So today's show, we're going to make it kind of interactive. I hope you guys will interact with me via the text line. We've done this before. We're bringing it back. 31032 is our text line. We have some keywords. We'll have you text in if you're a Chargers fan to get involved, if you're a Rams fan to get involved. And I got one for Trojan fans. Bruins fans will get one next week, I promise. But the topics were more relative to like what happened for this. But we'll get one for the Bruins next week as well. So, but I wanted to let's start with the Chargers. Just keep killing the offseason. Got to see it happen on the field. We got to see it translate, because that's been the Chargers' MO for a number of years. Is every year they're kind of the darling of the media, and I don't think the Chargers get a lot of credit within the media. But when it comes to predictions, every year the Chargers are always like a playoff hopeful team because of the talent they've put out. I mean, they've done good in roster construction overall. Obviously, we've talked ad nauseum about the issues with Tom Telus in the past. I know our other show, Chargers Unleashed, has really dug into that as well. But overall, it's not like these have been untalented teams. It's not like we're talking about the Jacksonville Jaguars here, or the Cincinnati Bengals for so many years. I know they were in the Super Bowl last year, touche them, but for so many years they were like, they had the Marvin Lewis years of always making the playoffs but never winning, and they had a real downtrodden after Marvin Lewis. Or the Browns is probably a better example. Like, we're not talking about terrible roster construction with no talent. It's been from top to bottom not the best construction in terms of long-term output, but in terms of putting together quality players on a team, they've done an overall good job. And every year it's kind of like, okay, is this the Chargers year? Is this the Chargers year? This year I think is, because of what they've done this offseason, the quarterback they have, and the coach they have on the sidelines. Everyone knows I am not shy about my love for Brandon Staley and Sean McVay as well. I mean, I just think our LA coaches are phenomenal. Lincoln Riley as well. And I'm bigger on Chip Kelly than a lot of people are. But I think overall, great coaches here in LA. But Brandon Staley, I thought he did a lot of very good things year one. He made some mistakes year one, which the scrutiny he got for some of those mistakes is like, it's a rookie head coach. There's going to be some mistakes. And some were just talking points, which I've spent a lot of time in the offseason, so we're not going to get back into some of those. But I think what he will learn from year one to year two will be categorically massive. The amount of knowledge that he has from that year one, not just in the preparation side of things, not just in the roster construction side of things, which you've already seen improvement, but also just on the game day, game management, sideline calls kind of things. Had 17 games now to learn. Whole offseason to look back and reflect. So this team is built to make a true Super Bowl run this season. And the guy I want to talk about, they just added another piece to that puzzle, is Morgan Fox. They've done a very smart thing in how they've built this team in the offseason. Is they addressed weaknesses, secondary, defensive line, offensive line. They addressed all their weaknesses, but they also went after players that have schematic familiarity with what the Chargers do on offense and defense, and familiarity with the coaches and coaching staff. And we talked about it with Sebastian Joseph Day. He knows Brandon Staley, Bryce Callahan. added, knows Brandon Staley. They got the big name in J.C. Jackson, who hasn't necessarily been in this scheme per se, but his game speaks for himself. They draft Zion Johnson, who is going to be a plug and play guard, will start from day one. And now you add Morgan Fox, who had just a career year in his first season with Brandon Staley and the Rams. Undrafted guy out of Colorado State Pueblo. I'm from Colorado. I know where Colorado State Pueblo is. It is a small school in a somewhat rural town in very South Colorado, almost to the New Mexico border. And he really exploded with Brandon Staley in that scheme, playing alongside Sebastian Joseph Day. So not just schematic, not just coaching, but also player familiarity. Because now he gets to play alongside Sebastian Joseph Day yet again, who they both had their breakout years in 2020. So this is it's a underrated signing nationally. I think locally there's a lot of excitement. But I say this might be one of the best signings. And it comes this 2 months after free agency started. The question is now where will he play along this line? But what I think is beautiful in how they've built this is there's so much depth, which was not the case last year. I believe, I'm kind of pulling off the top of my head, I believe they had 5 defensive linemen on the depth chart last year, at least going into week 1. Obviously, there was some shuffling. Currently, you have 10. Now, they won't carry 10, obviously, into week 1. But that's doubling what it was. And that shows me that they're probably going to keep at least 7 or 8 as opposed to 5. Because what that gives you now is a lot of talent, a lot of versatility, but a top-notch rotation where we're in a game now where unless you have an Aaron Donald or a Joey Bosa, which they have a Joey Bosa, but specifically on the line, and they play a 3-4 base. I know Bosa lines up on the line too. But unless you have those guys, it's so much smarter for you as a team and as a defense to have a heavy rotation because you're always going to have fresh legs, not winded. You can play per scheme, per situation. Maybe some guys are better against the run, so they're better on first down. Some guys are better on pass rush, so you're better on third and long situations. Like we've said all offseason long, when you add players in free agency, it allows you to not be pigeonholed in the draft. You can really go best player available because if you didn't add something and that's a huge need, you kind of are forced to take that position with a high pick because if you don't and you miss out and then you get in the later rounds, well, now that continues to be a glaring hole. Well, the Chargers did enough in free agency where they didn't have to do that. They were able to take best player, and they got the best player available at 17, which was Zion Williams. Zion Johnson, Zion Williams. I think I said Zion Johnson earlier. I keep mixing up the Zion who plays basketball, right? in the NBA for the Pelicans. But they were allowed to do that. And so now by adding Morgan Fox as well, you give yourself even more depth on that defensive line where you're not forced to play a guy that's maybe struggling on that week or that season or whatever, or go to the practice squad like they had to go last year to pick up specific players or to, bring up specific players. It just gives you so much versatility. So I love what they've done. And, you still have guys like Brandon Fihoko, Christian Covington, Forrest Merrill, Joe Gaziano, who really kind of had some solid weeks last year. You still have that depth. And then you obviously had Austin Johnson and Sebastian Joseph Day, who you added in free agency, and you drafted Atita Obonya, who I think is going to be a very bright player for this as well. The question now is what happens with Jerry Tillery? Because he has the first-round pedigree. To this point in his career, If he was a 4th round pick, he would not be a disappointment. But when you're a 1st round pick, the pressure is on. And so based on production, he's probably one of the, I don't want to say worst, but we can say one of the worst 1st round picks of Telesco's tenure. I have to think back over the 9 years of all of them. Obviously, the last few have been great with Herbert and Rashawn Slater, and he got Derwin James a few years prior. But Jerry Tillery is probably up there on the list of dud 1st round picks. Again, if he was a 4th round pick, his production's not terrible. It's not great still, but you would be like, okay, that's good production for a 4th round pick. 1st round pick, it's just the pressure is higher, and it hasn't been able to reach that. So as I see the defensive line, to me, Austin Johnson and Sebastian Joseph Day, strictly talking base, are the same type of player. They play the nose. If you look at some depth charts right now, and they're just plugging players in. So if you go to like ESPN, look at their depth chart, they have Austin Johnson at the nose and Sebastian Joseph Day as one of the DNs. I don't see that. Sebastian Joseph Day plays the nose. That's what he did for the Rams. That's what he did for Brandon Staley. Austin Johnson plays the nose. So there could be a world where we don't ever see them on the field together. Now, obviously in certain packages, run heavy packages, we could definitely see them together because again, they don't play in base that often. I mean, Brandon Staley's system is 85 to 90% nickel dime, some different variation from their 3-4 base. So we get so pigeonholed in talking overall about where players play in base when they never really play in base. I mean, I could see a more often scenario personally where either Johnson or Sebastian Joseph Day is in the middle at the nose. And then you can have the combination of either Tillery or Morgan Fox or a Fihoko as the DNs, and then have Joey Bosa as well lined up with his hand in the dirt. And then you have Kyle Van Noy and Khalil Mack as your 2 kind of edge backers and only run with 1 inside backer. Because when you run a package like that now, the one weakness the Chargers still have is that inside backer room. Because we just don't know what Kenneth Murray will progress to. Excuse me. Drew Tranquil, will he be healthy? They added Troy Reader, who's decent. Definitely not. He's not a guy you want starting. Nick Neiman showed some promise. Eamon Agbonbamiga, thank you, showed some promise as well. So, I mean, there's options there, but I think they'd be better suited to run with 1 backer more often than 2, which they did last year a lot anyway. The Rams do a lot as well. And so depending on how you do it, if you want more DBs or more off defensive linemen, we can see those packages where we see Bosa, Kyle Van Noy, and Khalil Mack all in the field, with Bosa more tuned in inside. I know he's always played outside, but with his hand in the dirt on the, with a Kyle Van Noy on his shoulder or Khalil Mack on his shoulder, having both those suited on one side, good luck. A lot of things we can get into with that. And that's just what adding a player like Morgan Fox gives you, is that fun versatility where you can truly not be pigeonholed in who plays. You don't have to be, well, Jerry Tillery is a 1st round pick. We got to get him in there. We got him in production. The size is there. The talent's there. Well, now who's giving you your best chance and giving you your best numbers? If we're looking purely at pass rushing over the last 2 years, last 2 seasons, Tillery had 952 pass rush snaps. Morgan Fox had 638. Was more of a role player, but also got hurt last year. So that's why his snaps are way, 300 less. But he missed a lot of last season. But still, Tillery in those 952 pass rush attempts, 66 total pressures, 8 sacks, 20 quarterback hits. Fox in 300 less rush snaps, 59 total pressures. It's only 7 total less pressures, 10 sacks, so 2 more sacks, and 7 additional quarterback hits. So the production Fox got was out of this world. Now, I don't want to forget, Fox played next to Aaron Donald. That certainly helps you out. And Sebastian Joseph Day, or I should say he's played on the other side of Aaron Donald. Which is why I think the Chargers, and I'm going to put this out there as a hot take, we'll see Bosa lined up more on the inside. Again, not inside in the sense of a D tackle. He is still an edge rush, but I think we'll see him more on the hand in the dirt on one of the sides, Khalil Mack on the other, standing up. And then if they want to go like NASCAR package with Kyle Van Noy, he'll be on the outside shoulder of Bosa. Because if you have a Bosa player who gives you that different player than Aaron Donald overall, different size, different versatility, but he is the Aaron Donald of this defensive line in terms of talent, skill, speed, power, all of the above. Well, now if you have Sebastian Day and Joey Bosa and Morgan Fox, you kind of get that same dynamic, which I could see the wheels turning in Brandon Staley's head saying, how can we replicate what we did? So before we go to break, I want you guys to get involved in this conversation. You got to text Chargers LAFB to 31032, and you tell me who gets more sacks this year, Jerry Tillery or Morgan Fox. Join the conversation. Give me your opinion there. You can comment right in that article, right in that debate that we have played there. Gives you a little more facts on the situation, the scenario. So Chargers LAFB, text that keyword to 31032 and let me know your opinion. I got to take a quick break. When we get back, we're talking Rams, we're talking USC, and much, much more. This is the LA Football Show. Stay right here. All right, welcome back to the LA Football Show. I'm your co-host, because my co-host is out of town, but I am the co-host, Ryan Dyrud. Thank you for tuning in. We just got wrapped up talking Chargers, talking Morgan Fox, talking versatility, talking Brandon Staley, talking about potential of this defensive unit that was a weakness against the run last year, and now that seems to be a strength. At least on paper, it's going to be fun to see it all unfold. But now we are going to shift to your Super Bowl champion, Los Angeles Rams. And we want to talk a little bit about the best player, not only on the Rams, not only in LA, but in the NFL. The only AD, Aaron Donald. Still in kind of a contract negotiation. I saw something the other day. I think it was literally just a rumor, like someone talking. There was no sourcing or anything like that. But something along the lines of, if the Rams and Aaron Donald cannot agree on a number for his contract negotiation, extension, restructure, whatever you want to call it, there is still an archiving chance that Aaron Donald retires this offseason. Now, I won't say 100%, I'll say 99.5%. Do not believe that's in the cards at all. I don't think there's any way in the world that they can't come to a number the way that Tony Pastors and Les Snead and Sean McVay have been able to manipulate the cap and pull these crazy numbers out. There's no way they don't do that for the best player in football and risk a retirement, because that changes everything for them. You lose AD, not only you're not the NFC favorite, but you're probably not even the favorite in your own division. That's how important AD is to this team, to this defense. Obviously, you got Jalen Ramsey. They added Bobby Wagner, who's great. But AD really still is the heartbeat of that defense. Offensively, they'll still be great. But when you're going up against, Green Bay Packers this year, the Buccaneers again, Buffalo Bills, the hardest schedule in football, you need your heartbeat of the defense if you want to make waves and go far. I want to put that out there. I don't see any way that happens. I am surprised it hasn't come out yet, a new contract. So I don't know how much I haven't looked into how much they've talked, or if they're not talking right now and everyone's just kind of in a good space heading into, I would assume he wouldn't be at OTAs, but at the same time, Aaron Donald's that freak that I think, will be there at the same time. So it will be interesting. We'll talk on that next week if he's at OTAs, and if he's not, if that's concerning at all, or if it's just Super Bowl champ taking some time to be with family, kids, wife, all that good jazz. But I want to talk more about, and this is where Rams fans can get involved by texting him, more about Aaron Donald and his sack potential. So for those that do not know, he's just 2 sacks away from the 100 club. 2 sacks away from 100 career sacks as a defensive tackle, mind you. Let's not forget that. He averages over 12 sacks per year. And if you want some context on that, the all-time sack leader, the great Bruce Smith, averaged 11 sacks per year. So there's no doubt in my mind if Aaron Donald wants to play till he's 38, wants to, actually, I don't want to say actually, that sounds bad, but wants to play the full career that he is capable of and not hang it up on top and focus on other things, there's no reason he can't break the sack record, which is crazy as a D tackle. He could retire today. And based on the numbers he's put out, based on the dominance that he has displayed, based on now winning a Super Bowl, would go down as a top 3 defensive player of all time. Some, and myself included, would probably still argue 1 because of the dynamic he does to the game. It's kind of at this point, I know you have Bruce Smith, I know you have Reggie White, you have some of these great pass rushers, but at this point in overall effectiveness of the game, it's kind of down to Lawrence Taylor and Aaron Donald. And that's with him retiring today. Which I hate continuing to say that because it scares me that could happen. I don't think it will. But that's how dominant he is. So 2 sacks away from 100, 1 sack away from 99. Number 99 gets number 99. So we wanted to see when you think his first sack comes in 2022. I'm just going to put out there he is playing. There will be a contract extension. I've kind of said a few times, and I kind of believe this. I think McVay, Stafford, and Donald will all go out at the same time. Stafford signed his extension. I believe is it 5? I think was it a 5-year extension, which he had 1 remaining, so 6 years total, which will put him right around 40 because him and McVay are just about the same age. Donald's got, I think, 3 years left, so they could give him a 2-year extension or 2 or 3-year extension, putting that 5-year. I don't know. I have this thought that they say, you know what? We can all continue this train rolling, be absolutely dominant in our division in the NFC for the next 5 to 6 years, and then all 3 of us go out on top. And then that gives the Rams a contingency plan. If they know, all right, we got 5 years with kind of our core, our coach, our quarterback, our defensive heartbeat. So then they know how to draft, how to plan accordingly, when to go get a quarterback, whether it's through the draft or a young prospect in free agency, when to start prospecting who's going to be our next head coach, whether it's in-house or kind of looking at. That to me just seems like a perfect plan because knowing what we know, I think Stafford wants to play till kind of he can't. But we know McVay and Donald that there's a clock on it, right? There's a stopwatch, if you will. A countdown. McVay wants to do other things, doesn't want to work 150 hours a week, which I don't blame the man. Aaron Donald has accomplished everything he needs to accomplish, essentially. He has a family, doesn't want to take the toll necessarily maybe on his body to where all of a sudden when he's 40, he can't walk. But that seems like a good plan where all of them would be out before 40 or right at 40. They could potentially win 2 to 4 to 5 more Super Bowl. I think 5 is a little greedy, but potentially for sure win 2 more in that 5 to 6 year window. And all go down as top 5 in their position ever. If McVay retires at 40 and has 3 Super Bowls, and we all know those will be all winning seasons, he'll be a top 5 coach of all time. No questions asked. If Stafford retires 5 to 6 more years, he'll be close to almost every passing record. Don't know if he'll pass Brady because Brady's will have played 6 more years than him, but he will be in that top 5 in terms of passing categories of yards, touchdowns. We'll then have 3 Super Bowls. If we're just saying they win 2 more, he'll go down probably as for sure top 10. I could say I've had this argument before. The 1 put him in the top 10 already because he's already there statistically and played for a bad organization. Or maybe I'll say top 15. There's just so many good quarterbacks and the eras are different, but I'll say top 15 now. He'd be top 10, top 7, top 8, maybe all time. 3 Super Bowls statistically, come on. And Aaron Donald is already top 1 or 2. Add 2 more Super Bowls to his resume. Potentially break the all-time sack record then there's no question. He is the greatest of all time at his position as a defenseman, defensive player. And he could then argue the greatest football player of all time. I need to talk to these three guys because that just sounds like the perfect way to go out. All three at the same time. You give the Rams plenty of notice where they know, okay, here is what's happening. Here's the contingency plan we can put together. It's not like other teams where there's kind of unknown and all of a sudden your star retires and you're terrible for 4 years trying to rebuild and do it over. That makes a lot of sense to me. So the interaction that we want from you, text in Rams LAFB to the same number, 31032. And there's a prop with our friends at Play Pickup in this article that we want you to play. And it's when will Aaron Donald get his first sack of 2022-2023? Week 1, between weeks 2 and 4, after week 4, or he won't have a sacks next season. So that's maybe saying you think he's going to retire. Curious your thoughts. Play the prop. You actually, when you play that and you enter your phone number, you get entered to, or not entered, if you, any points you play with Play Pickup, which we have tons of props all over LAFB that you can find, you get points. Those points add up and you get to redeem those points in a marketplace. One of the items in the marketplace is the LAFB locker room. So all of our stuff, you get 30% off with those points. So literally you get these points to play props for free and then you get to redeem them for free swag. It's like a win-win. You don't pay anything. So you're betting with house money, essentially. So again, text Rams LAFB to 31032, Rams fans, and decide when Aaron Donald gets his first sack next season. I just, that plan makes a lot of sense to me. So I know there's a lot of different opinions, concerns. I know McVay joked after seeing Brady's Fox deal, like, oh, maybe I should have retired and gone to broadcasting. But to me, that they all retire at the same time in 3 to 5 years, it just makes all the sense in the world. When it comes to legacy, when it comes to still going out at a young age to be able to do other things, the chance to do more in the city of LA for the Rams organization, and you're setting the Rams org up to prepare for that moment and plan for that moment instead of either one at a time leaving and then you're going through growing pains with a new coach with Matthew Stafford or vice versa, Sean McVay with a new quarterback. All three go out on top after every record's broken, after all three are considered top 5 in their respective categories all time. LA's got 3 to 5 more Super Bowls. We can keep you in parades. It's the perfect plan. Perfect plan. I'm just here playing the puppet strings. That's all I'm doing. Just playing the puppet strings. Want to see it happen. All right. So yeah, play that prop. Rams LAFB 31032. When will Aaron Donald get his first sack next season? All right. To wrap up the show, we got to talk a little USC. Jamal and I talked extensively about the transfer portal last episode, about Jordan Addison, the Blitnikoff winner from Pittsburgh, about this new potential bill in California, SB 1401, which talks about adding more pay for players. I'm not going to get all into it right now. If you want to know about it, if you're curious, listen to our last episode. It aired on Tuesday. Essentially, the bill is taking money from the athletic department and giving it to players within football and men's and women's basketball. And what that means I'm against it. I'll just say that. I think NIL is the best. It's not perfect, which I'm going to talk a little bit NIL too with, I'll just pause. I want to talk a little bit about it too with what Saban said and that. And I know it's not necessarily LA football, but it relates because NIL is real. It's here. It's why these players are transferring. But I just got to talk first. Jordan Addison. So officially, Blitnikoff winner last year. Everyone forgets that. I bet a lot of people don't even know that. Who won the Blitnikoff last year? I bet not many people would assume Chris Wilson from Iowa State. If Drake London would have been healthy, he would have won Blitikoff. I'm just going to say that. He almost probably was a high vote getter, and he missed the last 4 weeks. So that's different. But people would guess, basically we had 5 receivers in the first round go of this year's draft. Those would have been the assumption that one of those 5 won the Blitnikoff outside of Drake London because he missed so many games. But no. Jordan Addison, the first quarterback taken, Kenny Pickett, 20 overall, his favorite target, finished with 1,593 yards, almost 1,600, and 17 touchdowns. Me and Jamal kind of talked about his playmaking ability. He's a possession receiver, still fast though, great skill set. We said he would pair beautifully with what the Trojans have, even though they have a bevy of good receivers now with all the transfers that have come in. But if you have Mario Williams as your kind of your game-breaking deep threat, Jordan Addison just becomes your Amon-Ra St. Brown. Your guy that can move the chains, that can get you 2, 3, 4, 5 yards a clip. They can go and get dirty over the middle. Great hands. Well, now he's made it official, reportedly, transferring to USC. The other 2 contenders were Alabama and Texas. There were reports, I don't know how factual it is. There were reports that Texas was offering essentially $3 million through NIL, whether that's booster money or partners or what, offering $3 million to come play for the University of Texas. He has said afterward, it's been stated afterwards that NIL did not play a factor in his decision. I would say it probably did, at least to somewhat. But at the same time, he knew he was going to get NIL no matter where he went, Alabama, Texas, or USC, he was going to get some money. But I think it shows he believes in Bryce Young is a very good quarterback. We can't argue that. But believes in Caleb Williams. You got to believe in your quarterback because that's how you get the ball. If you don't get fed as a receiver, you die, right? If you want to make it an actual life reference. If you don't get fed the football as a receiver, you die. You get lost. You get forgotten. So he believes in, even with all the mouths to feed in the USC skill room, believes that this Lincoln Riley offense and with Caleb Williams manning the helm, he will get fed and he will eat. So I think that tells you what this USC team is building culturally, talent-wise, and specifically on the offensive side of the ball. And I think it also shows that he believes his team can win. This will most likely be his last year playing college football, going to the draft, you would assume, the following year. And he was at Pitt, who was getting Keaton Slovis, who transferred in, who's a solid quarterback. Played great his freshman year, kind of fell off in that Graham Harrell system, but still has the talent, the skill set. So he's going from Kenny Pickett to Keaton Slovis, which you could argue is not a huge difference collegiately. They're in the ACC that has some good talented teams, but outside of Clemson, who's been down the last few years, but there's not like a powerhouse. Got Clemson, Wake Forest has come up good. The Carolinas have shown some sparks, North and South Carolina. I'm sure I'm forgetting one, but Pitt was kind of maybe the favorite going into this year. Texas, you're in that Big 12 SEC transition, but Texas has been a mess. I know SC has been a mess, but SC changed. Texas is still what Texas was last year in terms of coaching, or at least at the top. So it shows all these guys coming in, shows what USC is building, shows the belief in Lincoln Riley, shows what USC can do in the Pac-12 and springboard them into the playoff conversation. Now, the defense still needs work. Obviously, we've talked about it a lot, but if you're scoring 40 points a game, you're going to be in the Pac-12 championship. If you're scoring 40 points a game, you're going to be in the Pac-12 championship, which this offense has the firepower. Remember the running backs that transferred in. The offensive line is much better than people are giving them credit for. 2 all first-team Pac-12 still on that offensive line, and all ACC who transferred in. It's not a terrible offensive line. Great tight ends that are going to be utilized in this system much more than they were in the past system. So the defense can hold teams to 30. This is a team in the Pac-12 championship, in my opinion. Now, the way to get involved, Trojans fans, we want you involved also. You're going to text Trojans to 31032, and we want you to decide or let us know who has more touchdowns next year. Transfer Mario Williams, who came with Caleb Williams from Oklahoma, or the Bolitnikoff winner, Jordan Addison. Who has more touchdowns between the two of them? You still have Brennan Rice. Still have Kyle Ford. Still have all these great Terrell Bynum, who looked really good in the spring game from Washington. Still have Gary Bryant Jr. Still have Taj Washington. Stacked receiving room. And now Addison just adds to that. Exciting times for Trojans fans. So text Trojans to 31032. Let us know what you think. Play the prop. More touchdowns, Addison or Williams. I got about a minute or so left. So I quickly, the NIL thing with Saban and Jimbo Fisher, hilarious to me, just more drama with these big time coaches who are seeing their control slip away. Maybe I'll dedicate more time on this next week. Because it is interesting to see. And I get the concerns they have. And a lot of people will just jump down their throats like, oh, you're making all this money. The kids aren't, that you're against that. I think I understand some of the concerns they're having, but they definitely don't know how to approach it. So I'll spend more time next week because I'm running out of time. So I just think it's fascinating. It's like soap opera, right? It's just drama. And then they go at each other and Jimbo's like, nope, I'm done with him. We're not talking anymore. It's hilarious. So that is all the time I have. This is the LA Football Show. I'm your host, Ryan Dyer. I'm all back in a few weeks, but I hope you all have a blessed weekend. Enjoy it. We'll see you again next Monday. This is the LA Football Show. I'm out. Peace.